Well, blues peepers. We got a special guest on in the 6 o'clock hour. This 6:30, Jack Dappa Blues, WFDUHD2. I can't say up and coming anymore. This young man is not only blues, but taking blues music, industry, heritage, traditions, Georgia by storm, and on the advisory board. This young brother is doing a lot. What's going on, Jontavious Willis?
How's it going, Mr. Jack? How you doing?
I'm okay, man. I'm good, and I have to say, I really appreciate that song. You're showing what's the term they use? The reach, the broadness. That was like country pop almost, still rooted in what we do. And I heard some real David Ruffin in that too. What's going on, brother?
Nothing much. I did that one there just to show that I can. There's a lot of genres and stuff I sing. Before I started doing blues, I was real heavy into R&B and soul and reggae and a lot of other stuff. But just to let folks know that I'm not just a one-trick pony. I do whatever I feel like doing.
No, I dig it, because I'm definitely a rhythm and blues soul cat. But David Ruff is my favorite. But however, we got to stick to topic, because me and you could talk about music and stuff all day. So let's stick to topic. I wanted you on the show because you have a very special project right now on your YouTube channel.
Oh yes, I started with my family, just interviewing them, asking about the old times and music back then, and hopefully it'll be more broader.
Right. Well, you know what? Let's talk about the first episode, because it's going to be broader. I actually watched it, and it's necessary for so many reasons. If I may, I want to just insert what you did with those videos. Remind me of what I just heard Mary Hurt Wright say. You opened the door to your generational or your lineage of living in this tradition, right? And it shows, proves, confirms, and also highlights that these traditions are still being passed on and lived today. So let's talk about the first interview, episode 1, interview 1 with your grandma and your grandpa, please.
Oh yeah, so I talked to them. This is something that I always talk to them about, but I just felt like getting on video was, a great thing to do, to not only capture it, but so others could see it rather than just me getting it. So we talked about church. The interview started off about blues and how do they feel about blues and gospel. My granddaddy said he feel that both of them make you feel good. And my grandmama basically said the same thing, and she said, the gospel make you do the holy dance. Daddy said the blues will make you get out there and do the rumble. But both of them will make you feel good. My grandma said what defines them is the words. She said the words are really what make the blues and what make a gospel. And we went from talking about that to talking about how they were instrumental in church and how church was instrumental in their life and how they began. How much church they used to go to, and then we talked about racism, and we talked about how they used to work and how is it different from now. And people fail to realize that people didn't stop picking cotton in the 1800s. My mama was picking cotton, and she talked about it on the video. Now, what she also said with a lot of, people go see it. I ain't gonna give away the whole video. But
you can't do that.
I can't do that, but I'm gonna just tell you, a lot of 90% of the cotton she was picking on her stepdaddy farm, the step granddaddy farm. The step granddaddy owned about 40 or 50 acres, where my granddad and grandma house are now. and they said he was a lazy man. Now, it's not in the interview, but they said he was lazy, so he would get his grandchildren to work. He'll pay them now to work for him. And they said he'll sit on the porch and say, time getting short and time getting hard. He said, y'all going to pick up the work. And he's sitting out there watching them pick the cotton. But she used to pick cotton for other people as well. But that's what's so interesting about her story, that most of the cotton picking she did. Now, she picked peaches, too. She talked about it in the video. But most of the cotton picking she did was for her step-granddaddy.
And that's interesting. And you raised a great point that most people think, or they think they know when picking cotton ended. And this video exposes that that's not the case. This was an industry that continued. Now, if she mentioned this in the video, don't answer. But if she did not, please let us know. Around what time was this? Like the 30s, 40s? When was this happening?
Well, my grandma was born in 42, so you had to think she was a little girl. So man, we talking about the 50s.
Wow! So people were still picking cotton in the 50s.
Oh yeah. They were picking cotton good in the 50s. Sharecropping was a big thing in the South. And my granddaddy we talked about sharecropping. Anybody can go listen and see what he said about the sharecropping. But it was a big figure in the South. I mean, that was a big old thing in the South. I mean, my granddaddy was born in 1937, and he said he didn't do too much work on no farm, but he did work. And they go listen to that too. But so this is the 50s, and my grandmama, we didn't talk about this on the video, but she told me before that her grandmama used to get beat by this man that used to make them pick cotton and stuff. But now my grandma said his name, I can't recall. And this would be in 1920s or 1930s. Now this is my grandmama. So and she said they would get beat. So this is still slavery, I mean,
absolutely.
We can mask it, but it was still slavery. They were still beating folks. A funny thing too that I want to mention is I had asked my grandmother's mother about the Depression, because a lot of people feel that that was some of the worst times in the Depression. I asked my great grandmama about it, and she said, "Babe," she said, "What is the Depression?" And I said, "Grandma, it was a time when people were hard, money was hard to find, didn't nobody have too much to eat." She said, "Baby, I always lived in the Depression."
Wow.
These people, then it was, it was life for them, But.
Well, no, that is extremely ironic, because now the question is, as they keep force feeding us this idea of the Great Depression in America, who was this depression for? Because obviously it wasn't for us, or at least not us as in me and you, but our relatives, our ancestors who were living during this time.
The depression was for the people that was doing well for themselves, mainly the people that had good jobs, middle class people. It wasn't too many African Americans around that time that was living easy, as they say. A few maybe. But and if they were living easy, you can believe that they were living hard just a few years before they started living easy. But you have a lot of people in the South that really didn't feel the effect of the Depression. I mean, because they were already making ends meet. I mean, farm work, everything they were doing.
Right, and they were getting paid monthly, right? Or was it yearly?
Yeah, she was. That what they talked about too in the video, about how with my great grandmother, they would pick cotton and they'll take it, the money, and give it to her mama or daddy so they can pay rent. And my grandmama mentioned something about that too, because she said, "Okay, this is it. No more about the video, but we're gonna talk about this." She said that she couldn't go to school because they would make them pick cotton and pick peaches, and pick other things. So I was like, she didn't graduate out of high school because she had to work. She had to pay bills. And see, a lot of people think that, like I said, this stuff got a ripple effect. So, but luckily, all of us, we were good. We had got enough education that we got on out of college, and I'm out of high school and got to college and all that good stuff. But a lot of people, even today, that's the reason a lot of people don't understand how can a person be in such a shape. Well, if you have someone like that, and the other person are trying to make ends meet too, because this person don't have a degree, a high school diploma, so now they got to work as hard as they do, so they don't get a high school diploma, and then it just keep happening and keep happening and keep happening. And this is something that trickled down all the way from the 1800s. So I mean, this thing is systematic. It's just not nothing that just up and jump up.
Right. Well, I'm happy you said that. Let's go into that. Right. And first, understand, good folks, this is based on the video series that Jontavious has produced and hosts, interviewing his grandparents and his great-grandma. You need to go check it out. It's on his YouTube page. Matter of fact, before we move on, what is your YouTube page name?
I want to say it's just Jontavious Willis. You should look up, and it'll because it ain't too many of me. And look up Jontavious Willis on YouTube, and you just go to the subscribe videos, and it's a lot of good stuff on there.
Oh, good. There is. I can attest to that. So now, back to the content or the purpose of the video. You said something just now. This is something that's trickled down. So at this point, we're talking about almost 80 to 100 years from the early mid 1800s to the 40s and 50s, 20s to 50s, right? Yeah, most definitely. And people are thinking, or at least teaching and saying in public, that this was not happening in America during those years, but in fact it actually was.
Oh yes, at a real wide scale. I have a lot of my granddaddy people left the South, I'm talking about people 60 and 70 years old. Said they left because they got tired of working. They wanted to find a factory job. They got tired of being in the field. They got tired of doing this, doing that. And the town that we are from, it still isn't as up to date as the towns around, because the interstate's supposed to went through our town, but a town in the county decided not to let it go through there. So even now today, we don't have a Walmart. We got a few dollar stores. It's rural. It's country, and that's just the way the thing was. And then, like my grandmama, she was saying she didn't see a car. She didn't know cars were out when she was young.
Wow.
Mules and horses.
Now, so I mentioned this earlier, and I want to mention this again, not to harbor on this particular individual, because I have nothing against him. I really don't know him. I believe he's a great musician to my understanding. But the statement is what I hold issue with. And again, not to be divisive, Mary Hurt really put it the best. Learn yourself so you can love yourself so you can love others. So we're not harboring on negativity right here. But I think you're the perfect person to discuss this with, based on your project, based on what you stand on and what you represent. The statement was, we all know the blues were started by black people in the fields in the early 1900s. But in 2017, the blues is not black anymore. My response was, you cannot have the music without the culture, tradition, and heritage, and everything that goes with that. So, based on what you just described, how not only the trickle-down effect of the harshness, but the good and the traditions that your family and the people in the neighborhood lived by. Do you see any reflection of that today?
Okay, this is, I have faced this a lot. So, first let's tackle the statement. So, it started in the field, but it's not black today. We have to look firstly and see why it's not black in their eyes anyway, or whoever the musician is. America has a history of ripping culture away. So if the masses become, if they take something up, then it's everybody's. Forget the culture. We seen that with rock and roll. Rock and roll wasn't new, but when you take it and label it and you say rock and roll, Alan Freed or whatever,
right?
You say, "Oh, I made a term that people been using forever." Then you know that you rip culture away from it. So after the British invasion, which was a double-headed sword to me,
absolutely,
because you had some people getting introduced to blues through what I would call blues rock. So now you identify blues as being blues rock. So when you say, so you already started there for one thing, so you already done took the culture out of it. You have some people that knew who Muddy Waters was and all that, but they never seen it from a cultural aspect, and they'll throw it, well, if it wasn't for the blues, the British invasion, no one would be singing the blues. That's when you get it wrong, because you still have the rural places in the United States that still were singing blues. I mean, passing around songs. I go to my granddaddy, and my granddaddy don't sing blues. I mean, not because he don't want to, because he just don't sing it. So I asked him to sing one time, and granddaddy just put lyrics together, not of a song. And see, a lot of people got theirs off of records. Granddaddy heard that song from someone in the community. Now, see, the British invasion only, if it never happened, it only would have hurt the masses that heard it that way. Hurt those folks still in the South. That still had it around, you understand? Because it was born in the black church and out of oppression. As long as oppression in the black church still alive, you ain't got to worry about the blues dying. It'll always be here.
It's always going to be. That's the truth. Or if I can quote Miss D, Mrs. Denise, and that's the truth, Ruth.
So for someone to say that it's not black today, it's a lot of things that people look over. I was brought up in a black Baptist church that's 114 years old, still saying hymns. Before I knew who Mississippi Fred McDowell was, before I knew who Blind Willie Johnson was, I was singing Jesus on the Main Line. I was singing Nobody Falls in Mind. These songs, like I say, are passed down. The tone is passed down through church. You learn so much stuff in church, the black church, that you just can't get off the records and all. I mean, you can listen to it, but it's something about the black church. If anybody have not experienced that, please go to a black church. You will understand how blues and gospel go hand in hand. But that's really all I have to say about that. That's the person that wants to rip the culture out of it. But it really, you can't. If you do that, you ain't singing blues. You're just doing it for fun. Right.
Or playing chords, right? Or chord progressions.
Yeah, that's it. With no feeling. Yeah, that's what I feel about it. And that's why also many people tend to enjoy playing over singing, because the blues were born out of field hollers. You cannot successfully present a blues and telling a story. Now, there are instrumentals and dance songs, but you cannot successfully tell a story without words. Yes, you can have notes. That's one for A, B, C, D, E, F, but E, F, G. But only so many words can be made out of this.
Right.
Physical words out of your mouth, and people fail to realize that's the most important part of the blues. If you're not telling a story, you're not doing your job successfully. And that comes from the church, that comes from field hollers and black culture altogether.
It does, actually. And we okay, we got a few more. We got a few more minutes because you touch on something extremely important, because that comes out of the black culture, that comes out of, that's before we were even African American, when we just came here as prisoners of war, considered African, Hebrew, however you want to call it. Our role as griots, our role as passing stories down to the next generation, or giving examples and parables through word of mouth is also part of the birth of the blues, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's the very important part. I mean, the oral tradition is just as important as anything else. I mean, before with records, I mean, you would have a song and somebody else would go and sing the song, and then another person pick it up, and that's how a lot of blues songs got made anyway, with just oral tradition.
I hope you guys got pen and pads, because when you come here, you're gonna learn them blues. Yes. Now, before we go, I would like you to tell the audience the importance of your video series. Why is it? Because I know why it's important.
I did this, and I'm also working on some other things, but I did this to show that, you know, the thing about the blues dying and how no cultural involved and there's really no cultural relevance at all is just a lie. It's just that someone didn't take the time to actually look and see, because people said that a lot of black people stopped playing blues. Was it that they stopped playing altogether, or was it also that they wasn't getting the same opportunity? Because I have called around here recently and found it's a lot of 60 to 50 and 70-year-olds that playing blues. A lot of black people that playing blues. Now, if it's a lot of them, that means they were in that era where they said no one was playing. So, I mean, and what I want to do off of what I'm doing with my grandparents is get these other black musicians around and try to record them. That's my ultimate goal. I have got in contact with, just in my community, some I didn't even know, about 5 or 6. And they told me they know other people that play. And yes, I mean, that's really my ultimate goal, is trying to show and combat this myth that the blues is dying. It's not that it's dying, it's just that people thought it died when the main people died. So when Muddy Water them died, they said, oh, nobody else can be doing that at all, but they never searched it. They never, you know, they didn't think about it. But that's my end goal.
And I agree with that. I applaud that. And, you know, we got you in your back 100%. Also, I have to add to that, you mentioned the term opportunity, because I would have to believe that falls into place too, because as a business, as a commercial entity, I'm sure those who make business decisions when it came to the industry of the blues, the record industry, they were counting on the Muddies and the Howlin' Wolves and cats like that to pass on, so they can do what they did and didn't consider looking for those other folk, because that's not where they were going with it. Because we have now a slew of highbrow festivals that have no black blues musicians on stage, and that's just horrific.
That's true. I'm gonna say one more thing, and we can let it alone. Not only do we have to see, can we, in some shape, form, or fashion, persuade people to understand that this is cultural music that everyone can enjoy. But we also have to produce our own festivals, because if you sit out and wait for so long, sometimes things will never get done. So you have to take it into your own hands. And I must say, there are many, many, many new African American blues artists, and I mean young. I'm talking about, I know a dude, he ain't even recorded. His name is Nigel Finks. So he's out of Alabama, over there in Aliceville. He's 14 years old. When I tell you the man can play guitar, that dude can play guitar. so many of them that's like that. But I say, just give us time, and we'll have festivals of our own. And we'll also let people understand that this is a cultural thing, and so we can finally get the blues back to like it once was, and everybody can play this thing together. That's how I feel.
No, I dig it. I'm with you 100%. Y'all heard it here first, good folk, because this is what it's about. I have to say, Brother Jontavious, thank you for joining us, and we're going to get you on here, if not next week, the following week, when your time allows it, so we could talk about episode 2.
Yes, sir. Sound good to me.
All right, brother. Talk to you soon. Thank you for joining us.
All right, no problem at all. Y'all have a good one.
All right. That was Georgia bluesman Jontavious Willis. And you know what I'm going to do? In the last few minutes before the station ID, we're going to celebrate the regional style in the area that Brother Jontavious is from, Georgia. I got to play some Georgia blues. So I'm going to play some Weaver and Beasley, and this is Bottleneck Blues.